Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Learn with Nisha ji. We are studying class 9 science and here we are on the chapter number 5, that is the fundamental unit of life. तो ये बायोलॉजी का चैप्टर है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इसमें से काफ़ी क्वेश्चंस एग्जाम में पुट अप होते हैं। तो इस लेक्चर में हम इस चैप्टर को कम्प्लीटली प्रिपेयर करेंगे, सारे कंसेप्ट्स, डायग्राम्स, इन टेक्स्ट क्वेश्चंस, बैक एक्सरसाइजेस, सब कुछ हम कवर करेंगे। तो अगर आप ये चैप्टर के लिए ये वीडियो कम्प्लीटली देख लेते हो तो आपका ये चैप्टर कम्प्लीटली प्रिपेयर हो जाएगा, right? So if you have not subscribed the channel, do subscribe the channel Learn with Nisha ji. And if you want online one-to-one sessions, you can fill up this registration form. Our team will connect with you. I'll share the link in the description section, right? So let us begin with the introduction. See, Robert Hooke, there was a scientist Robert Hooke, he examined a thin slice of cork. Okay? So he like observed that this cork resembled the structure of a honeycomb that consisted of many little compartments. Okay? Cork is a substance which comes from the bark of a tree. Okay? So this was in the year 1665 when Hooke made this chance observation using a self-designed microscope. Okay, so he named these boxes as cells. Cell basically Latin word hota hai for a little room, something very little. Okay, so this may seem to be a very small and insignificant incident, but it was very important in the history of science. So this was the very first time कि किसी ने observe किया था that living things appear to consist of separate units. The use of the word cell to describe this like these units is being used till date in biology. ठीक है, अभी भी हम word use करते हैं ये cells, right? So let us find about cells. So a question can arise in our mind like what are living organisms made up of? Okay. Let's see a small activity. So we will take a small piece of an onion bulb. Okay. So with the help of a pair of forceps, we can peel off the skin. एक skin होती है ना, epidermis बोलते हैं उसे. From the concave side inner layer. Okay. जैसे आपका जो अनियन का जैसे बल्ब होता है इस शेप में होता है ना, तो इस साइड पे एक लेयर होती है बहुत ही thin that you can remove. So this layer can be put immediately in a watch glass containing water. So this will prevent the peel from getting folded or getting dry. Okay. So what do we do with this peel? Okay. We will take a glass slide, put a drop of water on it and transfer a small piece of the peel from watch glass to the slide. Okay. You have to make sure that the peel is perfectly flat on the slide. Okay. A thin camel hair paintbrush might be necessary to help transfer the peel क्योंकि बहुत ही thin होती है. Now we put a drop of saffron in solution on this piece followed by a cover slip. Okay. Take care to avoid any air bubbles while putting the cover slip with the help of a mounting needle. Okay. You can even take the help of your teacher for this. Now we have prepared a temporary mount of onion peel. We can observe this slide under low power followed by high powers of a compound microscope. So basically microscope के अंदर आप इसको study करोगे. So here is a compound microscope. It is shown to you. Eyepiece, okay, coarse adjustment, fine adjustment, all these, like you can see this microscope in the laboratory, right? Now, what do we observe as we look through the lens? Can we draw the structures that we are able to see through the microscope on an observation sheet? ठीक है, अगर आप draw करोगे कुछ इस टाइप का आपको structure नजर आएगा. These are the cells of an onion peel. तो ये डिफरेंट जो स्ट्रक्चर्स बन रहे हैं ये सेल्स हैं और ये डॉट्स नजर आएंगे हर सेल में. दीज आर न्यूक्लियस. ओके, so we can try preparing temporary mounts of peels of onions of different sizes. So what do you observe? Do you see similar structures or different structures? And what are these structures? So these structures will look similar to each other. Together they form a big structure like an onion bulb. Okay, we find from this activity that onion bulbs of different sizes, they have similar small structures visible under a microscope. And the cells of the onion peel will all look the same regardless of the size of the onion they came from. Okay. These small structures that we see are the basic building units of the onion bulb, and these structures are referred to as cells. Not only onions, but all organisms that we observe around are made up of cells. However, there are also single cells that live on their own. ऐसा भी हो जाता है, ठीक है? So, like, let's talk about something important. ये एक extra information है. Cells we know were discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. He observed the cells in a cork slice with the help of a primitive microscope. Okay. Then Leeuwenhoek, with the help of improved microscope, he discovered that free living cells in pond water can be found. For the first time, he found this. Then it was Robert Brown in 1831 who discovered the nucleus in the cell. Okay. Purkinje in 1839 coined the term protoplasm. Protoplasm for the fluid substance of the cell. ठीक है, fluid substance भी होता है. In cell theory, that all the plants and animals are composed of cells, and that the cell is the basic unit of life. This was presented by two biologists, Schleiden and Schwann. Okay, the cell theory was further expanded by Virchow in like 1855 by suggesting that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. And with the discovery of electron microscope in 1940, it was possible to observe and understand the complex structure of the cell and its various organelles. वही हम अभी study करेंगे, ठीक है? Then invention of magnifying glasses, it led to the discovery of microscopic world. It is now known that a single cell can constitute a complete organism, right? जैसे amoeba है, okay, Chlamydomonas है, Paramecium है, bacteria है, right? These organisms are called unicellular organisms. Uni means single, okay. On the other hand, many cells group together to form a single body, okay. They assume different functions in it to form various body parts in multicellular organisms. Multi means many, ठीक है? तो इसके examples है plants, animals, fungi, right? And see, single cell वाले unicellular हो गए, many cells वाले multicellular हो गए, okay? So every multicellular organism has come from a single cell only. How? Cells divide to produce cells of their own kind. All cells thus come from pre-existing cells only, right? Now, some organisms can also have cells of different kinds, okay? So through a diagram we can see like some cells from the human body. कैसे कैसे ये? Okay. So you can see human body में भी बहुत तरह के cells हैं. Smooth muscle cell है ये, blood cells हैं, nerve cell है, fat cell है, bone cell, ovum, sperm. All these are different cells, right? So the shape and size of cells are related to the function these cells perform. Okay. And some cells like amoeba, they have changing shapes. Okay. In some cases, cell shape could be more or less fixed and peculiar for a particular type of cell. जैसे nerve cells हैं, उनकी एक typical सी shape है, आपने भी देखा, right? Each living cell has the capacity to perform certain basic functions that are characteristic of all living forms. Okay. तो कैसे ये perform करेगा living cell ये functions? We know that a division of labor in multicellular organisms like human beings. Okay. So different parts of the human body, they perform different functions. They say heart had to pump the blood, stomach to digest the food, and so on. Right. So division of labor can be seen in single cell also. Okay. Each such cell has got certain specific components within it which are called cell organelles. Right. बहुत important term है. Each kind of cell organelle क्या करेगी? It will perform a special function, okay, like making new material in the cell, clearing the waste material from the cell, and so on. Okay, a cell is able to live and perform all its functions because of these organelles. Okay, and these organelles together constitute the basic unit called the cell. It is interesting that all the cells are found to have same organelles. Very interesting thing. No matter what their function is or what organism they are found in. Okay, organelles सब में ही present होती है, right? Now let us do some conceptual questions. Who discovered cells and how? So Robert Hooke, he discovered cells in 1665 while observing a thin slice of cork under a self-designed microscope. Okay. He noticed small box-like structures. He called them cells because they resembled the tiny rooms or cells in a monastery, right? However, he only observed dead cells. The discovery of living cells was later made by Anton van Leeuwenhoek in 1670s using a more advanced microscope. right? Second question is, why is the cell called the structural and functional unit of life? Very important. Because the cell is called the structural unit of life because all living organisms are made up of cells. It is the functional unit because all life processes like respiration, digestion, reproduction, they occur at the cellular level, right? Cells work together to form tissues which form organs and which entirely make up the organism, right? So this both questions are very important. Next comes the question, what is a cell made up of? What is the structural organization of a cell? Okay, so cell has special components like organelles. Okay, अगर आप एक सेल को माइक्रोस्कोप के अंडर स्टडी करते हो, 3 फीचर्स आएंगे जो आपके सभी सेल्स में मिल जाएंगे ऑलमोस्ट, राइट? एक प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन, एक न्यूक्लियस, एक साइटोप्लाज्म. ठीक है, 3 चीजें. ये टर्म्स आपको आगे बहुत यूज होंगी, याद करनी है. प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन, न्यूक्लियस, साइटोप्लाज्म. So all the activities inside the cell and interactions of the cell with its environment, ये possible है क्यों? Because of these basic 3 features. तो अब हम देखेंगे कि ये कैसे होता है, right? See, plasma membrane or cell membrane, ठीक है? This is the outermost covering of the cell that separates the contents of the cell from its external environment. ठीक है? Covering हो गई basically ये. ठीक है? It allows and permits entry and exit of materials in and out of the cell. Okay? It will prevent movement of some other materials. Okay? सेल मेम्ब्रेन तो सिलेक्टिवली परमिएबल मेम्ब्रेन है, मतलब कुछ मटेरियल्स को अलाउ करेगी, कुछ को नहीं करेगी, राइट? Some substances like carbon dioxide or oxygen, they can move across the cell membrane by a process called diffusion. Okay, diffusion हमने देखा था, like there is a spontaneous movement of a substance from a region of high concentration to a region where its concentration is low, इसे हम diffusion कहते हैं, right? So cells में भी कुछ similar ऐसा ही होता है, जैसे कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड है, ठीक है? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इज अ सेल्युलर वेस्ट, इट इज नीडेड टू बी एक्सक्रीटेड आउट ऑफ द सेल. तो जब ये एक्यूमुलेट हो जाता है हाई कॉन्सेंट्रेशन में इनसाइड द सेल, तो क्या होता है, सेल का जो एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट है वहां CO2 की कॉन्सेंट्रेशन लो है एज कंपेयर टू इनसाइड द सेल. तो डिफरेंस इन कॉन्सेंट्रेशन आउटसाइड और इनसाइड हो गई, तो हायर टू लोअर मूव कर जाएगा ये. CO2 मूव्स आउट ऑफ द सेल from region of high concentration to low concentration outside the cell by the process of diffusion. इसी तरह ऑक्सीजन, ठीक है, जब ऑक्सीजन का लेवल सेल के अंदर डिक्रीज कर जाता है और बाहर ज्यादा है, तो ऑक्सीजन बाहर से अंदर आ जाएगा, राइट? सो ये डिफ्यूजन की वजह से ये गैसियस एक्सचेंज पॉसिबल है बिटवीन द सेल्स एज वेल एज द सेल एंड द एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट, राइट? वाटर also obeys the law of diffusion. The movement of water molecules through such a selectively permeable membrane, it's called osmosis. Very important term, osmosis. Movement of water across the plasma membrane, ये affect होता है by the amount of substance dissolved in water. So osmosis is the net diffusion of water across a selectively permeable membrane toward a higher solute concentration. It will move towards higher solute concentration. This is important. कि अब हम अगर एनिमल सेल को या प्लांट सेल को किसी शुगर या सॉल्ट सॉल्यूशन में रख दें, ठीक है, जैसे वाटर में शुगर मिक्स करके या वाटर में सॉल्ट मिक्स करके, तो व्हाट ऑल थिंग्स कैन हैपन. तो अगर मीडियम सराउंडिंग द सेल इट हैज हायर वाटर कॉन्सेंट्रेशन देन द सेल, ओके, आउटसाइड सॉल्यूशन डाइल्यूट है, तो सेल विल गेन वाटर बाय ऑस्मोसिस, ठीक है. तो सच अ सॉल्यूशन इज कॉल्ड हाइपोटोनिक सॉल्यूशन. Water molecules are free to pass across the cell membrane in both the directions, but more water will come into the cell than will leave. Okay, तो जो net या overall result ये होता है कि water enters the cell and the cell is likely to swell up, right? Second, अगर medium has exactly the same water concentration as the cell, तो there will be no net movement of water across the cell membrane. ठीक है, ऐसे solutions को हम कहते हैं isotonic solutions. Water crosses the cell membrane in both the directions, but amount going in is same as the amount going out. The overall movement of water zero हो जाएगी. Cell size will stay the same. ठीक है, अगर जो मीडियम है उसमें लोअर कॉन्सेंट्रेशन है वाटर की एज कंपेयर टू सेल, तो क्या होगा? It is a very concentrated solution. Okay, तो सेल विल लूज वाटर बाय ऑस्मोसिस. ऐसे सॉल्यूशन को हम हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन बोलते हैं. वाटर क्रॉसेस सेल मेम्ब्रेन इन बोथ डायरेक्शंस, बट this time more water is leaving the cell than entering it. The cell is going to shrink. Okay. तो ऑस्मोसिस एक स्पेशल केस है डिफ्यूजन का थ्रू अ सेलेक्टिवली परमिएबल मेम्ब्रेन. राइट. Next, we see a small activity, that is osmosis with an egg. You have to remove the shell of an egg by dissolving it in dilute hydrochloric acid. Shell is mostly calcium carbonate. Okay. A thin outer skin now encloses the egg. Now put the egg in pure water and observe after 5 minutes. So आप observe करोगे egg is going to swell up because water passes into it by osmosis. Now place a similar de-shelled egg in a concentrated salt solution for 5 minutes and observe. So here water passes out of the egg solution into the salt solution because salt solution is more concentrated. तो इस तरह की एक्टिविटी हम रेजन्स और एप्रिकॉट्स ड्राइड वंस उनके साथ कर सकते हैं. राइट. See, unicellular fresh water organisms and most plant cells, they tend to gain water through osmosis. Okay. And absorption of water by plant roots is also an example of osmosis. So diffusion is important in exchange of gases and water in the life of a cell. Okay. In addition to this, cell also contains like it obtains the nutrition from its environment. So different molecules move in and out of the cell through a type of transport requiring use of energy. तो plasma membrane जो होता है, it is flexible, made up of organic molecules which are called lipids and proteins. Okay, but we can observe that structure of plasma membrane only through a electron microscope. Okay. The flexibility of the cell membrane also enables the cell to engulf in food and other material from external environment. So such processes are called endocytosis. Amoeba, it acquires its food through such processes only. Right? Here comes the first question. How do substances like carbon dioxide and water move in and out of the cell? Discuss. So carbon dioxide moves out of the cell by diffusion. क्योंकि कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड प्रोड्यूस होता है इनसाइड द सेल एज अ वेस्ट प्रोडक्ट ऑफ रेस्पिरेशन. It will diffuse from a region of higher concentration, that is inside the cell, to a region of lower concentration, that is outside the cell. Okay. Water will move in and out of the cell by osmosis, which is diffusion of water across the semi-permeable plasma membrane. Okay. Water will move from a area of higher water concentration to area of lower water concentration. Right. Second question is, why is plasma membrane called a selectively permeable membrane? Very important. Plasma membrane को ऐसा इसलिए बोलते हैं क्योंकि it allows certain substances to pass through while it restricts others. Okay. Small molecules such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, water, they can freely pass through by diffusion. Large molecules and charged particles, they require specific transport proteins or active transport mechanisms to move across the membrane. Okay. This selective nature helps the cell in maintaining homeostasis, that is internal balance. Right. Now let us study about the cell wall. Plant cells, in addition to the plasma membrane, they have another rigid outer covering which is called cell wall. ठीक है. Cell wall lies outside the plasma membrane. ठीक है. Plant cell wall is composed of cellulose. Cellulose is a complex substance and it gives structural strength to the plants. ठीक है. When a living plant cell loses water through osmosis, so there is shrinkage or contraction of the contents of the cell away from the cell wall. Okay, so this phenomena is called plasmolysis, right? See, it appears that only living cells and not dead cells are able to absorb water by osmosis. Okay, cell walls permit the cells of plants, fungi, and bacteria to withstand very dilute, hypotonic external media without bursting. Okay. In such media, the cells tend to take up water by osmosis. Cell swell karega, building up pressure against the cell wall. Wall exerts an equal pressure against the swollen cell. Okay. Because of their walls, such cells can withstand much greater changes in the surrounding medium than animal cells. ठीक है, एक support मिल जाती है उससे. Next, we talk about the nucleus. Nucleus has a double layered covering called nuclear membrane. Okay. It has a nuclear membrane has pores which allow the transfer of material from inside the nucleus to its outside, that is to the cytoplasm. Okay. Nucleus, it contains chromosomes which are visible as rod-shaped structures only when the cell is about to divide. ठीक है. Chromosomes contain information for inheritance of characters from parents to next generation in the form of DNA. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid molecules. Okay. Chromosomes are composed of DNA and protein. DNA molecules contain information necessary for constructing and organizing the cells. Okay. Functional segments of DNA are called genes. In a cell which is not dividing, DNA is present as a part of chromatin material, and chromatin material is visible as entangled mass of thread-like structures. When the cell is about to divide, the chromatin material gets organized into chromosomes. तो ये एक्चुअल में एक्शन होता है न्यूक्लियस के अंदर, right? So we can see nucleus plays a central role in cellular reproduction, the process by which a cell divides and forms two new cells. It will play a crucial part along with the environment in determining the way the cell will develop and what form it will exhibit at maturity. Okay, by directing the chemical activities of the cell. In some organisms like bacteria, the nuclear region of the cell may be poorly defined due to the absence of a nuclear membrane. So in such undefined nuclear region containing only nucleic acids, it is called a nucleoid, right? Such organisms whose cells lack a nuclear membrane, उन्हें हम कहते हैं prokaryotes. Okay, pro means primitive or primary, and karyote means it's a word derived from karyon, that is nucleus. So organisms with cells having a nuclear membrane, they are called eukaryotes. ठीक है, तो दो types के हो गए, prokaryotes and eukaryotes, right? So prokaryotic cells आप देख सकते हो, they also lack most of the other cytoplasmic organelles which are present in eukaryotic cells. So many of the functions of such organelles, they are also performed by poorly organized parts of the cytoplasm. Okay. Chlorophyll in photosynthetic prokaryotic bacteria is associated with membranous vesicles, bag-like structures, but not with plastids as in eukaryotic cells. ठीक है, तो इसमें आप देखो क्या क्या प्रेजेंट है, सेल वॉल, प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन, राइबोसोम्स, न्यूक्लियोइड. ठीक है, दिस इज प्रोकैरियोटिक सेल डायग्राम. Now let us talk about cytoplasm. So when we look at the temporary mounts of onion peel as well as human cheek cells, okay, so we can see a large region of each cell enclosed by the cell membrane. ठीक है, this region takes up very little stain. Okay, it is called cytoplasm. Cytoplasm क्या होता है? It is the fluid content inside the plasma membrane. It also contains many specialized cell organelles, and each of these organelles performs a specific function for the cell, right? See, the cell organelles, they are enclosed by membranes. Okay. In prokaryotes, beside the absence of a defined nuclear region, membrane-bound cell organelles are also absent. Okay. And eukaryotic cells, they have nuclear membrane and membrane enclosed organelles also, right? The significance of membranes can be illustrated with the example of virus. Virus में membrane नहीं होती, ठीक है? So they do not show characteristics of life until they enter a living body, okay? And use its cell machinery to multiply, okay? So generally आपको एग्जाम में डिफरेंस बिटवीन प्रोकैरियोटिक एंड यूकैरियोटिक सेल्स पूछा जा सकता है, तो यू कैन टेक द हेल्प ऑफ दिस टेबल. ओके, प्रोकैरियोटिक सेल का साइज जनरली स्मॉल होता है, ठीक है, 1 to 10 micrometers. 1 micrometer is 10 raised to the power minus 6 meters. Okay, then eukaryotic cell थोड़ा बड़ा होता है, 5 to 100 micrometer, right? Nuclear region, prokaryotic में it's not well defined. It lacks a nuclear membrane, okay, and known as nucleoid. And इसमें well defined and surrounded by nuclear membrane. ठीक है, इसमें क्रोमोसोम सिंगल होता है, इसमें more than one chromosome होता है. Membrane bound cell organelles are absent here but present in eukaryotic cells, right? Next, let us discuss about cell organelles. Okay, see, every cell has a membrane around it to keep its own content separate from the external environment. ठीक है, एक membrane है, right? Large and complex cells, including cells from multicellular organisms, they need a lot of chemical activity, ठीक है, to support their complicated structure and function. So to keep these activities of different kinds separate from each other. These cells use membrane-bound little structures, जिन्हें हम organelles बोल रहे हैं, within themselves. ठीक है? This is one of the features of eukaryotic cells that distinguish them from prokaryotic cells. ठीक है? Now, some of these organelles are visible only with an electron microscope. ठीक है? उसे use करके ही आप इन्हें देख पाओगे. Now, we have talked about nucleus in the previous section. देखा था हमने, right? Some important examples of cell organelles जो हम अब one by one discuss करेंगे. They are endoplasmic reticulum, okay, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, plastids, okay. ये इसलिए important होते हैं because they carry out some very crucial functions in the cells, right? So let us see them one by one. सबसे पहले हम देख रहे हैं endoplasmic reticulum, right? तो इसमें देखो क्वेश्चंस आते हैं सेल ऑर्गेनेलीज को एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए एग्जाम में, और डायग्राम भी आता है टू ड्रॉ द एनिमल सेल एंड प्लांट सेल. तो ये डायग्राम्स भी आपको करने हैं, राइट? तो एक बार पहले डायग्राम्स देख लेते हैं. जैसे एनिमल सेल आप देख सकते हो, दिस इज द स्ट्रक्चर. ये सारी सेल ऑर्गेनेलीज हैं. तो हम देख सकते हैं दिस इज न्यूक्लियस, ये साइटोप्लाज्म है, रफ एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम, माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया, राइबोसोम्स, लाइसोसोम्स, सेंट्रियोल, प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन सब दिखाया है इसमें. Golgi apparatus, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, nuclear envelope, nucleus, everything is shown. Okay. Similarly, आप plant cell में देखो, this is the plant cell structure. इसमें देखो cytoplasm, chloroplast, ribosomes, mitochondria, cell wall, adjacent cell wall, plasma membrane, nuclear envelope, Golgi apparatus, nucleus, chloroplast. Okay. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, lysosome, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, everything is shown. तो ये generally exam में आते हैं draw करने के लिए. We should practice them. Correct? So let's discuss about endoplasmic reticulum or ER in detail now. So it is a network of membrane-bound tubes and sheets. It looks like long tubules or round or oblong bags या vesicles. ER membrane is similar in structure to plasma membrane. दो तरह के ERs हैं, रफ एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम RER एंड स्मूथ एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम SER. ठीक है? तो RER looks rough under a microscope because it has particles called ribosomes attached to its surface. ठीक है? तो अब इसे अगर हम डायग्राम में देखें तो आप देख सकते हो दिस पार्ट इज स्मूथ एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम और यहाँ पे रफ एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम. रफ एंडोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम पे क्या अटैच्ड है? राइबोसोम्स. ओके. Similarly, we can see here, यहाँ पे हमारा smooth endoplasmic reticulum है, this part, okay, and this part is the rough endoplasmic reticulum, correct? Okay, so the ribosomes which are present in all active sites are the sites of protein manufacture. बहुत important होते हैं ये, ठीक है? Manufactured proteins are then sent to various parts in the cell depending on the need using ER, okay? SCR will help in manufacture of fat molecules or lipids, which is an important cell function. ठीक है? Like some of these proteins and lipids, they help in building the cell membrane. Okay? इस process को हम क्या कहते हैं? Membrane biogenesis, right? Other proteins and lipids, they function as enzymes and hormones. Enzymes क्या होते हैं? जो किसी भी process को speed up करने में help करेंगे, right? So ER can vary greatly in appearance in different cells, but it always forms a network system. So a function of ER is to serve as channels for the transport of materials like proteins, okay, between various regions of the cytoplasm or between cytoplasm and nucleus. And ER, it also functions as cytoplasmic framework, providing a surface for some of the biochemical activities of the cell. In the liver cells of the group of animals called vertebrates, SER plays a crucial role of detoxifying many poisons and drugs. This is very, very important function, right? So all these points you should keep in mind, क्योंकि इसमें इस तरह आता है question कि आपको endoplasmic reticulum के functions बताने हैं, तो you can make it point wise, right? Let us now talk about Golgi apparatus. So it was first described by Camillo Golgi. It consists of a system of membrane-bound vesicles flattened sacs arranged approximately parallel to each other in stacks called cisterns. Okay? Now, these membranes often have connections with the membranes of ER and therefore constitute another portion of a complex cellular membrane system. Now, material synthesized near the ER is packaged and dispatched to various targets inside and outside the cell through Golgi apparatus. Functions क्या हैं इसके? Storage, modification and packaging of products in vesicles. In some cases, complex sugars may be made from simple sugars in the Golgi apparatus, right? It is also involved in the formation of lysosomes. Very important function. Next, we come on to lysosomes. So, lysosomes are membrane-bound sacs filled with digestive enzymes, and these enzymes are made by RER. Okay. Lysosomes are a kind of waste disposal system of the cell. They help to keep the cell clean by digesting any foreign material as well as worn out cell organelles. ठीक है, cleaning का काम करता है ये. Foreign materials entering the cell like bacteria or food as well as old organelles, they end up in the lysosomes, which break complex substances into simpler substances. Okay. Lysosomes ऐसा क्यों कर पाते हैं? क्योंकि they contain powerful digestive enzymes which are capable of breaking down all the organic material. Right? During the disturbance in cellular metabolism, like when the cell gets damaged, lysosomes can burst and the enzymes can digest their own cell. इसीलिए lysosomes को suicide bags of a cell भी बोलते हैं. Very important question as a reasoning question, right, for exams. Next is mitochondria. Mitochondria को हम बोलते हैं power house of the cell. ठीक है? They have two membrane coverings. Outer membrane होती है which is porous. Inner membrane होती है which is deeply folded. ठीक है? Folds क्या करते हैं? They increase the surface area for ATP generating chemical reactions. The energy required for various chemical activities needed for life is released by mitochondria in the form of ATP. ATP क्या होता है? Adenosine triphosphate. Okay, ATP molecules के form में release होगा. ATP is known as the energy currency of the cell. Okay, the body uses energy stored in ATP to make new chemical compounds and for mechanical work. Now, mitochondria are strange organelles in the sense that they have their own DNA and ribosomes. Very important. So mitochondria is able to make some of its own proteins as well, right? Next we talk about plastids. See, plastids खाली plant cells में ही present होते हैं, right? There are two types of plastids. One is chromoplasts, colored plastids, and one is leucoplasts, which are white or colorless plastids. ठीक है? Chromoplasts containing the pigment chlorophyll, they are called chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are important for photosynthesis in plants, and they also contain various yellow and orange pigments in addition to chlorophyll. Leucoplasts are primarily they are organelles in which materials like starch, oils, and protein granules are stored. Now, internal organization of chloroplast, it contains numerous membrane layers embedded in a material called stroma, right? These are similar to mitochondria in external structure, okay? Like mitochondria, plastids also have their own DNA and ribosomes. Again, this is very important point, right? Next, we'll talk about vacuoles. So, vacuoles are storage sacs for solid or liquid contents, okay? They are small sized in animal cells और plant cells में ये बड़े होते हैं, ठीक है? Central vacuole of some plant cells may occupy 50 to 90% of the cell volume. कई बार इतना बड़ा भी होता है, ठीक है? In plant cells, vacuoles are full of cell sap and they provide turgidity and rigidity to the cell. Okay, many substances of importance in the life of plant cell are stored in vacuoles. They are like amino acids, sugars, various organic acids and some proteins. जो single celled organisms होते हैं like amoeba, food vacuole contains the food items that the amoeba has consumed. Okay, in some unicellular organisms, specialized vacuoles also play important roles in expelling excess water and some wastes from the cell, right? So each cell thus acquires its structure and ability to function because of the organization of its membrane and organelles in specific ways. Okay, cell thus has a basic structural organization which helps the cells to perform functions such as respiration, getting nutrition, clearing waste material, forming new proteins. Okay, so cell is the fundamental structural unit of living organisms. It is also the basic functional unit of life. Okay, so here comes the question set. Can you name the two organelles we have studied that contain their own genetic material? So first one is mitochondria, okay, which is in both plant and animal cells, and chloroplasts in plant cells, okay. Both of them have their own DNA and they can replicate independently, right? Second is, if the organization of a cell is destroyed due to some physical or chemical influence, then what will happen? So the essential functions like energy production, protein synthesis, waste removal, these will stop, and it can lead to a death of the cell, right? नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ये बहुत बार एग्जाम में आता है. व्हाई आर लाइसोसोम्स कॉल्ड सुसाइड बैग्स? Because they contain digestive enzymes that can break down cell components. And if the lysosome membrane ruptures, these enzymes can digest the cell itself, leading to its self-destruction. इसीलिए इन्हें suicide bags बोलते हैं, right? Fourth question is, where are proteins synthesized inside the cell? They are synthesized on ribosomes, very important. Free ribosomes in the cytoplasm make proteins for internal use, and ribosomes on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, they make proteins for export or membrane insertion, right? So now let us talk about cell division. Cell division बहुत important topic है from exam point of view. Okay, so study this properly along with diagrams. See, new cells are formed in organisms in order to grow, replace the old ones, dead and injured cells, and to form gametes required for reproduction. ठीक है? तो जो process होता है by which new cells are made, it is called cell division. दो types के cell division है, mitosis and meiosis. ठीक है? Process of cell division in which most of the cells divide for growth. ठीक है? उसे कहते हैं mitosis. In this process, each cell called mother cell, it divides to form two identical daughter cells. Now, the daughter cells have the same number of chromosomes as mother cell. It helps in growth and repair of tissues in organisms. Specific cells of reproductive organs or tissues in animals and plants, they divide to form gametes, which after fertilization give rise to offspring. They divide by a different process और उस process को हम meiosis कहते हैं. It involves two consecutive divisions. When a cell divides by meiosis, it produces 4 new cells instead of just 2. The new cells only have half the number of chromosomes than that of the mother cells. Okay. So here we have the diagram. Mitosis में देखो, this is dividing like this into two parts. Okay. And meiosis में see, this is the main one, और ये basically 4 cells में फिर divide हो जाता है, right? So here we see a summary of the complete chapter, right? So how, like what we have studied, let's just wind it up. First is the definition of cell. Fundamental organization unit of life is called a cell. Cells are enclosed by plasma membrane composed of lipids and proteins. Okay. Then we talk about cell membrane. Okay. Plant cells, they contain cellulose. Okay. Then cell wall in plant cells. Okay. Eukaryotes. Okay. ER functions, Golgi apparatus, plastids, chromoplasts, leucoplasts, okay, vacuole, prokaryotic cells, and then division, cell division, this we discussed. So you can go through all these points to get a quick summary of all the things we have studied in this chapter, right? So here comes the exercises. Let's see them one by one. First is we have to give the difference between a plant cell and an animal cell. So here's the answer. You can present it as a table. जैसे cell wall, chloroplast, okay, these are present in plant cells but absent in animal cells. ठीक है? Vacuole plant cells में large central vacuole होता है, animal cells में small होता है, absent ही होता है. Shape of plant cells is rectangular or fixed. Animal cells की shape round होती है या irregular. ठीक है? Centrioles are absent in plant cells but present in animal cells. Lysosomes are rarely present in plant cells and present in animal cells. Okay. Next comes the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. ये अभी हमने देखा था in the in-text exercises. Same you can answer as a table, right? Next is what will happen if plasma membrane ruptures or breaks down. तो क्या होगा जी, प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन इन एंड आउट सब्सटेंसेस को मूव कराती है सेल से, ठीक है। तो अगर ये रप्चर हो गई तो सेल विल लूज इट्स कंटेंट्स, तो क्या होगा, सेल डेथ हो जाएगी, राइट। फोर्थ इज अगर गोल्गी apparatus ना हो तो क्या होगा, ठीक है। it processes and packages proteins and lipids, so cells will not be able to secrete or transport molecules properly, so this will disrupt the cell function, correct. Next we come on to the fifth question, which organelle is known as the powerhouse of the cell and why? So mitochondria, as it produces ATP or energy through cellular respiration. Okay. Sixth is where do lipids and proteins constituting the cell membrane get synthesized? तो lipids होते हैं like smooth endoplasmic reticulum में, और proteins होते हैं rough endoplasmic reticulum में, और फिर वो modify होते हैं in Golgi apparatus, right? Next, amoeba, how it obtains its food? So through phagocytosis, it will engulf the food, okay, form a food vacuole where digestion occurs using enzymes. Next is what is osmosis? Very important, movement of water molecules from a region of higher water concentration to a region of lower water concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Okay. Next is this is an osmosis experiment, okay. You are taking 4 peeled potato halves, okay, and we scoop out each one out of to make potato cups, ठीक है। तो इसमें हम 4 केसेस लेंगे, एक में कप को एम्प्टी रखेंगे, एक में 1 टीस्पून शुगर डालेंगे, थर्ड वन वी ऐड 1 टीस्पून सॉल्ट, ओके, एंड इन फोर्थ वन बॉइल्ड पोटैटो कप लिया है और उसमें शुगर ऐड की। तो फर्स्ट हमसे पूछा है कि लाइक बी और सी पार्ट्स में वाटर गैदर क्यों हो जाता है, ठीक है, क्योंकि बी और सी में हमारा हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन बन गया शुगर और सॉल्ट ऐड करने से, सो ड्रॉइंग वाटर इन थ्रू ऑस्मोसिस, दैट्स व्हाई, ओके। पोटैटो सेकंड इज पोटैटो ए नेसेसरी क्यों है, टू शो अ कंट्रोल, ठीक है, दैट ऑस्मोसिस डज नॉट अकर विदाउट अ सोल्यूट। और थर्ड पार्ट में पूछा है कि ए और डी में वाटर डज नॉट गैदर इन हॉलो पार्ट, ऐसा इसलिए ए में तो सोल्यूट ही नहीं है तो कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ग्रेडियंट होगा ही नहीं, और डी में वो बॉइल्ड था हमारा पोटैटो तो उसकी वजह से सेमी परमिएबल मेम्ब्रेन डैमेज हो जाएगी और कोई ऑस्मोसिस नहीं होगा, राइट। 10th क्वेश्चन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, विच टाइप ऑफ सेल डिविजन इज नीडेड फॉर ग्रोथ एंड रिपेयर ऑफ बॉडी, कौन सा होगा, माइटोसिस, एंड विच टाइप इज इन्वॉल्व्ड इन फॉर्मेशन ऑफ गेमीट्स, meiosis, gametes is sperm and egg cells, right? So this completes the chapter. I hope the concepts are clear. If you have not subscribed the channel yet, you can subscribe the channel Learn with Nisha ji and stay tuned for more updates. Thanks for watching the video.